Hello, I'm Sakiz, and on this channel, we explore fictional technology horror stories that feel disturbingly close to reality. Tonight's story is about something designed to save lives, a seatbelt that monitors safety and alerts drivers. But what happens when that safety device becomes a comprehensive audio surveillance system, recording every private conversation in your car and selling those intimate exchanges to divorce lawyers, private investigators, and corporate rivals? This is the story of Jennifer Martinez, a family law attorney who discovered that smart seatbelts weren't just protecting passengers, they were recording every word spoken in vehicles and creating a marketplace where your most private car conversations could be purchased and weaponized against you in court, at work, and in your personal life. This story explores the terrifying possibility of our vehicles becoming mobile wiretaps, where the device meant to protect us becomes a betrayal tool that captures our most candid moments. While completely fictional, it raises urgent questions about what our car safety technology is listening to and who's profiting from our private conversations. Are you ready to question whether your seatbelt is recording you? Let's begin. Jennifer Martinez had practiced family law in Chicago for 16 years, specializing in divorce and custody cases. She'd seen every type of evidence: texts, emails, financial records, surveillance photos. She understood how discovery worked and what was admissible in court. In June 2024, she encountered evidence she'd never seen before. Her client, Sarah Chen, was in a contentious divorce. Sarah's husband's attorney submitted recordings of conversations Sarah had in her car, talking with Jennifer about legal strategy, discussing finances with her accountant, having personal conversations with friends about the marriage. Where did these recordings come from? Jennifer demanded in the judge's chambers. The opposing counsel responded calmly, "They're from Mrs. Chen's own vehicle safety system. The DriveSafe smart seatbelt records audio for safety monitoring purposes. It's all disclosed in the terms of service she agreed to." Jennifer was stunned. "You're telling me her seatbelt has been recording every conversation in her car?" "That's correct. And since the recordings exist legally, they're discoverable evidence." The recordings included attorney-client privileged conversations, discussions Jennifer had with Sarah in the car about case strategy, settlement positions, and litigation tactics. Those conversations should have been absolutely protected. "Your Honor, these are privileged communications," Jennifer argued. But the damage was done. The opposing side had heard Jennifer's entire strategy. They knew Sarah's bottom line, her fears, her weaknesses. 2 weeks later, another case. Then another. By August, Jennifer had seen similar evidence in 37 divorce cases, private car conversations that opposing counsel somehow obtained. The conversations included attorney-client privilege discussions about legal strategy, personal admissions made to friends or therapists in the car, financial planning discussions with accountants, conversations with new romantic partners, private thoughts spoken aloud while driving alone. Someone is systematically recording and selling car conversations, Jennifer realized. She investigated what all the cases had in common. The victims drove different makes and models, but 32 of the 37 had recently installed aftermarket smart seatbelt systems, devices that replaced standard belts with AI-enhanced safety monitoring. 23 used DriveSafe. 7 used SEATBELT. 2 used Smart Restraint. All advertised advanced audio monitoring for distraction detection and safety alert systems. Jennifer knew she discovered a massive privacy violation. Jennifer worked with Dr. Michael Chen, a privacy technology researcher, and her investigator, David Park, to obtain all 3 smart seatbelt brands. They examined what the devices recorded and where the data went. The findings were more invasive than Jennifer had imagined. "These aren't safety devices," Dr. Chen explained, showing Jennifer the technical analysis. "They're mobile wiretaps disguised as seatbelts. The smart seatbelts contained high-quality microphones positioned to capture all vehicle audio, continuous recording whenever the vehicle was running, voice recognition software to identify different speakers, AI analysis categorizing conversations by topic and sensitivity, cloud storage maintaining recordings, and definitely no user controls to disable recording or delete data." "They record everything," Jennifer said. Every conversation, every phone call on speakerphone, every private discussion. And look where the recordings go, Dr. Chen showed her the data transmission logs. All three brands transmitted audio to servers owned by AutoIntel Analytics, a company marketing, relationship intelligence and behavioral insight services. They accessed AutoIntel's client list. What they found was shocking. Over 200 divorce attorneys purchasing car conversation recordings, private investigation firms buying audio surveillance packages, corporate espionage services purchasing business conversation data, insurance companies buying driver behavior audio analysis, marketing firms purchasing consumer conversation data. The pricing was explicit. Basic conversation history, $200 per vehicle per month. Targeted recording package, specific dates/topics $1,000. Real-time audio monitoring, $3,000 per vehicle per month. Complete conversation archive, $5,000 per vehicle. Divorce lawyers are buying recordings of attorney-client conversations, Jennifer said, horrified. That's an ethical violation and potentially illegal wiretapping. Dr. Chen found AutoIntel's marketing materials. Never go into court blind. Know exactly what your opposing party has discussed with their attorney, their plans, their settlement limits. Our in-car audio intelligence gives you perfect discovery before discovery. Jennifer, Dr. Chen, and David Park investigated AutoIntel Analytics. The company had been founded by Marcus Reed, a former private investigator who'd lost his license for illegal surveillance activities. His new business was designed to monetize private conversations while claiming legal protection through user agreements. Internal documents obtained through a whistleblower revealed everything. AutoIntel specifically targeted divorce cases, marketing to family law attorneys. They promoted the service as relationship intelligence, recordings of spouses discussing affairs, finances, and custody plans. They knew they were capturing attorney-client privileged communications and sold access to opposing counsel. They had no safeguards preventing illegal use of recordings. One internal email stated, "Attorney-client recordings are our premium product. Lawyers will pay top dollar for their opponent's strategy sessions. Legal liability is the purchaser's problem, not ours." Jennifer traced the scope. AutoIntel had sold 2.8 million smart seatbelt units in the past 2 years. Millions of drivers were being recorded without meaningful understanding of the surveillance. She reviewed how the recordings had been used in her 37 cases. Opposing attorneys knew Jennifer's complete legal strategy before trial. Clients' personal admissions in therapy-like car conversations were used against them in custody battles. Financial discussions with accountants revealed hidden assets and settlement limits. Conversations with new romantic partners were presented as evidence of infidelity. Even thoughts spoken aloud while driving alone were used to show state of mind. The surveillance went beyond divorce cases. Corporate executives' car conversations about mergers and strategies sold to competitors. Journalists' source conversations in vehicles compromised. Therapy sessions conducted by phone in cars recorded and potentially exposed. Medical consultations on speaker phone captured. This isn't just a privacy violation, Jennifer said. This is systematic destruction of privileged communications, trade secrets, journalistic sources, and basic conversational privacy. The seatbelts had created a marketplace where any private car conversation could be purchased and weaponized. Jennifer worked with victims, her clients and others affected by seatbelt recordings, to document the violations. Sarah Chen described her experience. "I trusted my car as a private space. I had confidential conversations with my attorney, personal discussions with my therapist over the phone, intimate talks with friends. My seatbelt recorded everything and sold it to my husband's lawyer. They knew every detail of my legal strategy, every vulnerability I discussed. I lost my case because my own car betrayed me." A corporate executive, David Morrison, shared, "I had strategic planning discussions with my CFO in my car. Merger plans, acquisition targets, competitive strategy. Someone bought those recordings and sold them to our competitors. We lost a $50 million deal because my seatbelt was spying on us." Dr. Chen prepared technical documentation showing the recording capabilities, storage systems, and sales infrastructure. They released everything to major media with warnings about all AutoIntel connected seatbelt brands. The response was explosive. Smart seatbelts recording private conversations, attorney-client privilege violated in millions of vehicles. Your car is wiretapped, how safety devices became audio surveillance tools. People realized they'd been recorded without knowledge. Every conversation I've had in my car for 2 years was recorded and potentially sold. My attorney-client discussions weren't private. My seatbelt was recording our legal strategy. I thought my car was a safe space to talk. It was actually a recording studio selling my words. Legal ethics organizations condemned the practice as systematic violation of attorney-client privilege. The American Bar Association filed complaints against attorneys who'd purchased recordings of privileged communications. Class action lawsuits were filed representing 2.8 million users whose conversations had been recorded and sold. State attorneys general launched investigations into wiretapping violations. Many states require all-party consent for recording conversations. Whistleblowers revealed internal communications showing Auto Intel executives knew they were facilitating illegal surveillance and attorney ethical violations but considered it profitable market demand. Marcus Reed, CEO of Auto Intel Analytics, and 7 other executives were arrested on charges including illegal wiretapping, conspiracy to violate attorney-client privilege, fraud, and invasion of privacy. The trial became a landmark case in privacy law and legal ethics. These defendants weaponized vehicles, the prosecutor stated. They turned cars into mobile surveillance devices, recording millions of private conversations, including privileged attorney-client communications, medical consultations, therapy sessions, and business strategy discussions. They then sold these recordings to anyone willing to pay, knowing they'd be used to violate privilege, compromise litigation, and destroy privacy. Expert witnesses testified. Jennifer Martinez explained the sanctity of attorney-client privilege and how Auto Intel had systematically violated it. Dr. Chen demonstrated the recording capabilities and the impossibility of meaningful user awareness or consent. Privacy law experts testified about wiretapping violations in two-party consent states. Legal ethics experts explained how attorneys who purchased the recordings had violated professional responsibility rules. Victims testified. Sarah Chen, they recorded my most private conversations and sold them to be used against me in court. My attorney-client discussions, my therapy calls, my personal admissions, all captured by a device I thought was protecting me and used to destroy my case. David Morrison, corporate espionage became as simple as buying car conversation recordings. Our competitors knew our strategy because my seatbelt sold our private planning discussions. A journalist, they recorded my source conversations in my car. People who trusted me with confidential information on the promise of anonymity were potentially exposed because my seatbelt was wiretapping me. The most emotional testimony came from an attorney who'd unknowingly had her strategy sessions recorded and purchased by opposing counsel. She'd lost multiple cases because her legal tactics were known in advance, and she faced Bar Association ethics complaints for the breach despite being the victim. The defense tried to argue that users had consented through terms of service. But legal experts testified that buried clauses couldn't override laws against wiretapping or attorney-client privilege. Internal documents proved Auto Intel had deliberately targeted privileged communications as premium content and actively marketed to divorce attorneys despite knowing it violated professional ethics. One marketing email to law firms stated, "Imagine knowing your opponent's complete strategy before trial. Our in-car intelligence delivers exactly that. All legally obtained through user agreements." The jury convicted on all counts. Reed received 22 years in prison for systematic wiretapping. Other executives received 12 to 18 years. Auto Intel was ordered to pay $11.2 billion in damages and destroy all recordings. Attorneys who'd purchased privileged recordings faced bar discipline, with several disbarred for ethical violations. The scandal forced comprehensive changes in vehicle technology regulation and legal ethics. New laws were enacted. Vehicle audio recording prohibited without explicit real-time consent and visible recording indicators. Criminal penalties for selling recordings of privileged communications. Automatic destruction of any attorney-client, doctor-patient, Or therapist-client communications recorded professional discipline for attorneys who purchase or use recordings of opposing counsel's privileged communications. Victims' right to have cases reopened if outcome was affected by illegally obtained recordings. Jennifer continued practicing law, now advocating for privacy rights and helping victims whose cases had been compromised by illegal recordings. But the damage was extensive. Legal cases lost or settled unfavorably due to strategy exposure. Business deals collapsed from compromised negotiations. Relationships destroyed by recordings of private conversations. Lasting violation. Knowing years of private car talks had been captured and potentially sold. Sarah Chin described the impact. I'll never speak freely in a car again. Every conversation feels monitored. The space where I used to feel safe to think aloud, to discuss sensitive matters, to have privileged attorney consultations, that's gone. Even with the seatbelt removed, I can't shake the feeling of being recorded. Many victims developed hypervigilance about where they had sensitive conversations. Some refused to discuss anything important in vehicles, others experienced anxiety about privacy in any semi-public space. Several of Jennifer's clients had to refile cases or appeal based on the tainted evidence, but the psychological and financial toll of the initial losses couldn't be fully recovered. 2 years after the scandal, Jennifer Martinez addressed a legal ethics conference about the lessons learned. What Auto Intel did, she explained, was violate the most fundamental principle of our legal system, that people can speak freely with their attorneys without fear of surveillance. They turned every car into a potential wiretap, making it impossible to have privileged conversations anywhere except a secured office. She continued, the car has always been a space of privacy, where we have candid conversations, personal phone calls, think aloud about difficult decisions. Auto Intel monetized that privacy by recording everything and selling it to whoever would pay. The case highlighted dangerous intersections of technology and fundamental rights. The erosion of attorney-client privilege through ubiquitous surveillance. The impossibility of informed consent when buried in lengthy terms of service. The ease of creating surveillance infrastructure disguised as safety features. The willingness to profit from privileged communications despite legal and ethical prohibitions. Every connected device that can record audio, Jennifer told the audience, is a potential wiretap if the company operating it prioritizes profit over privacy. Your smart seatbelt, your smart speaker, your connected car, each could be capturing conversations you assume are private. The survivors faced ongoing challenges. Legal cases that had been compromised by illegally obtained evidence. Professional relationships damaged by exposed confidential discussions. Lasting privacy anxiety about speaking in vehicles. The impossibility of knowing who had purchased and heard their recordings. I'll never know who heard those conversations, one victim said. Who purchased my attorney discussions, my therapy calls, my private admissions. That uncertainty is its own form of ongoing violation. The warning remains urgent. As vehicles become more connected and smart, the potential for surveillance increases. Every microphone in a car, justified as a safety or convenience feature, could become a recording device if profit depends on capturing conversations. The lesson of the seatbelts that recorded conversations, Jennifer concluded, is that we must protect spaces of privacy even, especially, in our vehicles. Attorney-client privilege, doctor-patient confidentiality, personal conversation, these aren't just conveniences. They're fundamental rights that can't be sacrificed for connected car features. Your private conversations should remain private, even in transit. This story is completely fictional. Auto Intel analytics and the described recording seatbelts do not exist. Current smart seatbelt systems do not record conversations. However, the underlying concerns are real. Connected vehicles do have microphones, attorney-client privilege is fundamental to legal representation, and the potential for vehicle-based audio surveillance is a genuine privacy concern. This story is meant to encourage critical thinking about what audio our vehicle systems might be capturing and the importance of protecting privileged and private conversations. Your car conversations should remain private. Thank you for watching.